Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. So,
Me too, man. I love delving into all of the different professionals and personalities that are out there in the world. So first and foremost, where are you coming out of?
I am in Orange County, Southern California.
Okay, good for you. I love it down there. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you based?
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
So the interesting thing, and I was telling TJ this during our interview, was that when the pandemic started, Kansas City was the longest running city with live entertainment because we didn't recognize prohibition. We went right through it, which is why the whole Charlie Parker and the roaring
Oh,
time happened. So when we shut down, we were open the longest in the world, I think, at that point.
wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. Wow. Neat.
So it was very cool. But yeah, I want to, speaking of the pandemic, I want to start there and ask you the last 3.5 years was quite an ordeal. How did you make it through that time period and how did it change you?
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting time period. And, in similar fashion to how I think it changed everybody, but rewinding the clock, going back to March 17th, that was the day we decided to go in full remote mode at my company. Now, I had already sold it at that time, sold it the year before, just in time, which was great.
Yeah.
Uh, so here it is a year later, and March 17th, everything is getting locked down. So we tell staff, okay, we're going to go in full remote mode. And um, it, it was fine for us. We were ready for it actually, and it was just business as usual. We just adapted really quickly and were highly effective and efficient. Uh, and the year was interesting because some clients got busier and some got, less busy, especially one of our real estate clients that had a lot of commercial office space. They got in, a little bit of trouble there, but they're fine.
Yeah.
And it was really a tumultuous time. And 2020, just for me personally, was the toughest year of my life. I lost my parents. And then, like, my mother died on June 1st. And that was the weekend before she died. It was when all the riots started happening
Yeah.
all over the place. And here we are in lockdown, and everyone really doesn't know much about anything about what's going on. Really, like, what did we really know at that
Yeah.
time, right? And then all of a sudden, there's all these riots that are happening, and then a couple days later, at the start of that, my mother transitions into the spirit world, and in the remaining 6 months was just really tough. And for me, it was definitely a shift in priorities,
Yeah.
just in thinking about stuff. And I think that was pretty much the case for many, many, many people out there, is a shift in priorities. What truly matters in life.
Yeah. So on paper, it's clear what you do, but I want to kind of break this down a little bit. Let's put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the kids is curious and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I would say I am a consultant at the base level. Now, I do a lot of things, but a consultant slash advisor, right? But there's a variety of areas that I play in. Um, After I sold my company, I stayed on for 3 years as CEO, and then I left last year. And I started thinking, well, what's the next chapter in life? What do I really need to be doing? And we'll get into some other stuff, I'm sure. But I really define my purpose as wanting to create things that inspire and empower others to help fulfill their potential. Big, broad statement. Um, and there's aspects that we can get into that facilitates that. But what I started doing at the beginning of this year was delving into consulting, advisory services based on my 26-year history of digital marketing, running a digital marketing agency. So consulting and leadership development, brand development, and marketing communications with an emphasis on digital experiences. But there's other stuff that I do, like, I'm sure we're going to talk about the book I just came out with and so forth. But
Yeah.
if we boil it down, I'm consultant advisor these days.
Okay. So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Oh, wow, in the third grade. That's a good question. You know, I think way back then I wanted to be a scientist.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, because I was really into space. I was really into dinosaurs, all things the animal world, nature, everything like that. I was always my first passion actually was books.
Yeah.
As soon as I could read, I always had a book in my face. And even before I could read, I was always sticking a book in my mom's face saying, read. So I was always reading a lot of like nature, animals, kingdom, insects, space, dinosaurs, just all kinds of, just non-fiction stuff, just factual stuff, scientific stuff. So yeah, I remember way back then, like a paleontologist, I think, right? It's people that dig up dinosaur bones. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Yeah. So take me back to where you were born and raised and some of these seeds that specifically got into you to be an entrepreneur, to be a consultant, to help people.
So I was born and raised in Southern California in what's called the San Gabriel Valley in a little town called Glendora. I lived in Glendora and San Dimas. Anyone who's familiar with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, San Dimas rules. Yeah, that was the town, the Circle K. I actually
Yeah.
lived probably about a mile or two around down the street and around the corner from the Circle K
Nice. That's
there.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. But my family's from back east, and I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, small business. So my mom was actually a really big driver. Now she's single mom, raised me. A couple of sisters that are older. By the time I was 10, it was just me and her. Um, and she had a small restaurant. And then my parents also had a fire sprinkler company for automatic fire sprinklers systems and for designing, installing, and maintenance. Small businesses. And so I grew up in that environment. I started washing dishes when I was 10. Then I became a busboy at 13. And then I was a waiter at 16. And then I started working in the shop, doing the fabricating pipe, cutting pipe, going on the field a little bit here and there. So I'd work at both.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a time period where they did well, but then it all kind of went downhill when the recession in the early 90s hit. So it's interesting,
Yeah.
kind of the rise and then some success, but then a fall. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So who's been a hero for you in your life? Who's been an inspiration?
My mother really, just because of what she did. I mean, she was such a driver where she came from. The background is coming from upstate New York, born on an Indian reservation, and there's not much, especially back then.
Yeah.
So coming out here to California to create a new life and a great life, and she did a lot. She really did well, and one of my sisters, I love both my sisters. I have two sisters. Um, One of them in particular, she was a really hard driver. She was working, I think, two or three jobs, going to college and raising her son, um, at a young age. And she just really handled it. And, she made a great success of her life. Her and her husband, they were married at 17, I believe, and they're still married today. They really beat the odds and created a great success story. So she was always an inspiration as well. She helped me through, kind of get me going on some things. And yeah, she was someone really neat to look up to. So it's a lot of personal people, like as far as celebrity figures, I don't know. There's no one that really sticks in my mind back then, like the people that were close to me.
Yeah. So is there anyone alive on the planet right now that you would love to talk to, love to meet, someone inspirational?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of people, but these days, that's a good question because there's so many fields of interest from passions with music, passions in martial arts, and so forth. I like who I really like is Donnie Yen. He's the guy who starred in Ip Man, the Ip Man movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, just he's an interesting guy. Actually, Jackie Chan, he's the one that I really like for um since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, watching Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan movies growing up as a kid. Yeah, Jackie Chan would have to be the guy.
Nice. So, what's your inspiration every day you wake up as a businessman, as a writer? What is it that gets you out of bed, that gets you to do all of these things that are who you are?
I need to have purpose, and as I mentioned earlier, the purpose to really be of service to others, and in that way to create things that inspire and empower others. I when I love to create, that's when I'm in my top moment of joy, is when I'm in that active creation. Another aspect that I really derive fulfillment is when I'm helping others. And when I was running my company, the greatest joy I had during running my company is when I'd observe my team members blossom. For example, uh, this one gentleman who's our chief creative officer, he never used to present to clients or prospects in pitch meetings. One day I told him, "Hey, you're gonna present," and he's like super nervous about it. And I kept putting him in that position. And this is just like one example. Over time, a period of time, he started rocking it. He just started presenting like he ended up being the best presenter in the company, even where some clients were would call me up later and saying, "Wow, that's the best presentation that I've ever seen." And moments like that, that's what really fills my heart and I derive joy out of. So, that active creation and observing others flourish. That's why I define my purpose as creating things that inspire and empower others.
So, speaking of creating things, talk about the book. How did this all come to fruition for you?
So the book, I actually thought about it 12 years ago, and I started it 12 years ago. So it's taken me quite a bit of time, but I since my first passion was books, like I talked about. I remember when I was around probably 17, 18 or so, I thought to myself, yeah, I'd really like to write a book someday. I didn't know what, but figured that would be a great thing to do. Um, so fast forward to 2011, I came up with the concept, business kung fu, and that was based on my martial arts background. And I thought, yeah, it's time. It's time to write this book. And the concept was taking all the lessons, the principles that I learned from studying Chinese Kung Fu into how I actually truly applied it to my business and my mindset, my discipline, perseverance, and even how I thought about the company structurally and developing the team and so forth. But it took me 12 years just because, you know, I'd work on it here and there. And then when I was getting ready to sell my company, actually, um, I don't think I even touched it for like 3 years because that was just so heads down, trying to get that done. And then last year is when I said, well, now I have the time. So I was like halfway done, and I just busted it out, and finished the last half. But yeah, it was really coming from a desire from when I was young.
So, as a businessman, you're helping people. What's been one of your best success stories?
Hmm. Um, I think the big success story was how our management team, developing a management team in my company, and as a team, how we succeeded by creating enough value so that another company, and I'm talking about a world-class digital agency that does some of the biggest stuff in the world, saw value in us and decided that we were worthy of being acquired. To me, that was the pinnacle of success, and that success was shared with the management team to a certain extent. There was some piece of the action, you know, for those participants. So that was very for me very fulfilling, not only for myself and that success that was achieved, but also for the team because they got to um, share in that success as well monetarily.
So what's been the best advice you've ever gotten?
Hmm. You ask really good questions.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, so the best advice, it's funny because there's so many different. I've had a variety of mentors in life, and everyone has their pearls of wisdom that they share. And wow, is this one better than other? One that comes to mind though was funny story, and it was a really good lesson for me. I this was probably around 2004 or so, 2005, and working with a client, and one of my programmers didn't do something correctly and the project wasn't working. So when I was talking to this gentleman, I said, "Oh, yeah, so and so, yeah, he didn't do this right. So yeah, unfortunately, yep, it's kind of pointing the finger actually." And he laid into me like really hardcore for like a good 5 or 10 minutes. It felt like an hour, you know. But he said, like, "Hey, man, you're the leader of the company. You're ultimately responsible. Don't tell me this. Don't tell me that it's that guy's fault. It's your fault. You're the leader. You have to take full responsibility and be accountable." And I listened and I didn't get defensive, and I just was listening. And after that and then we went on, and actually I think that it was a much longer conversation, but there was like 10 minutes where he was just laying into me about it. And after that conversation, I was like, yeah, he's right. Absolutely, 100%. So that was something that always stuck in my mind, and I was always very consciously aware of whenever it came to dealing with clients and people out in the business world, that I needed to make sure I knew what was going on and be aware. And if there was a slip up, but yeah, I was the one responsible.
Yeah.
Even if it was something that was kind of out of my control, well, I'm still the leader, so I have to be accountable for everybody. So
Yeah.
that was a really good lesson that stuck with me.
So speaking of advice, let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 20-year-old version of you, and you can give that
Mm.
young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've accumulated over your life. What advice would you dispense on that young version of you?
I would say make sure that you take care of yourself, because you have a lot of things to do for a lot of people. And in order for you to do that properly, you have to make sure you take care of yourself properly. Yeah, I have as a saying that I wrote in my book. You have to be of service to self so you can be of service to others for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
what I mean,
yeah, no, go ahead. No,
if I may, what I
yeah,
mean
yeah,
by
you're good.
that is taking care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. Yeah, I was so all into my company and making that a success. I let my health go. I was in like tip top shape when I started my company at 25, from all of my martial arts training and strength training that I was doing. And then by the time I was like 35, 10 years later, I was just totally out of shape. And I actually ended up coming, I think when I was around 44 or so, 45, discovering that I was diagnosed with diabetes.
Wow.
And that was a whole new challenge that I had to face, which I have reversed naturally, actually, no
Yeah.
pharmaceutical medications. Um, but during that time period of declining health, I wasn't at my top ability of being able to perform. I would get tired, um, crash, and that's where you really have to make sure you take care of yourself in order to be able to continue to perform at an optimal level for
Yeah,
others.
for sure. So let's say a time machine pulls up in front of your house when we get off this call, and you can go anywhere in history and see one event in human history. Where are you going to go?
That's a good one. A time machine. All right. I'd go back to the very beginning and
Yeah,
see what the heck really happened.
yeah,
What
yeah,
what is our real story? Because what we've been taught and learned, as many people have been discovering, especially when the lockdown happened, with everyone just exploring, having more time on their hands to explore and seek truth. What is the truth? We don't know.
yeah,
What happened? What really happened? We don't know.
yeah.
So I would like to go back to the beginning and
The
see what's
mystery,
up.
The ultimate mystery. So, of all of the things that you've accomplished and overcome and become, there's so many things that have happened in your life. What are you the proudest of?
My family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a wonderful family, wife, two kids, and great kids. And yeah, all the business success, material success. Yeah, it's all nice. And I'm grateful for that and appreciative. But at the end of the day, it's relationships is what truly matters. And for me, my strongest relationships are with my family.
So, at the end of the day, there's all these people that exist in your world, family, friends, clients, colleagues, readers, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's funny because there's a lot of different things I do, and there's these identities that we have, right? I can say, well, yeah, it's a CEO because I was a CEO for 26 years. I'm an author because now I've just published a book. I'm a business consultant because I do business consulting. But those really aren't who I am. Those are just identities. If we peel back the onion, who are we truly? I'll say this might sound a little out there, but I'm a unique divine expression of the creator,
Yeah,
just a radiant light to express joy and to be of service. That's who I am.
I love it. Love it. Succinct to the point. So, if anyone wants to pick up the book, learn more about you, reach out, find out anything about your world, where do they go?
So the book is available in hardcover, paperback, Kindle on Amazon. And I have a website, c-squaredpro.io, c-squaredpro.io. So that's the letter C, c-squaredpro.io. And there's a form on there that people can contact me. And I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, all that stuff. Um, Another thing, I'm a Qigong practitioner, so I have another website, C2 Energy Medicine, and an Instagram profile, C2 Energy Medicine. That's a whole other topic, but yeah, that's the easiest ways to get in touch with me.
Right on. Craig, this has been great, man. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Keep doing the good work.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.